Hello and welcome to this edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. Uh, we usually always talk about MLB, but as you can see, we're both wearing Virginia hats. And that is because Virginia is going to the College World Series. One of 8 teams looked very good after their loss on Friday night. I've been saying all along they're deep in pitching. We've watched so many games. I think the pitching is what's going to help them, especially if they go into the losers bracket. So here's the bracket right now as we see it. Virginia has to face Florida, and in their bracket they're going to they haven't announced who the other team is yet in the bracket because two games are yet to be played for tonight. But Wake Forest is also in their bracket. So I don't know how the number 1 and number 2 teams are in the same bracket, but
that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. You got Oral Roberts and TCU. Neither team are ranked in one bracket, and you've got Florida and Wake Forest in the other bracket. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. So tonight's games,
Texas and Stanford play tonight.
Right. So you could have Stanford number 8 or Texas unranked. What was the other game? And Tennessee and Southern Miss, which neither one are ranked.
You got one loaded bracket, and the other bracket is LSU's good.
This is the only place now. I do want to throw an asterisk out here. This is on DraftKings. This is the only place I can find anywhere where they have any setup of a bracket so far going into the weekend. But
so this might not be official.
It might not be official because on the World Series website and the NCAA website, they don't have anything. They don't even have them. They haven't updated the weekend yet. So, they're a little behind. If it was football, we would know exactly what was going on. Or basketball, men's basketball. But, yeah, so right now, as this looks, they got Virginia playing Florida, and it's a double elimination tournament. So that's where we're at. But did you finally watch the game yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. What I wanted to talk to you yesterday about was, again, we see this a lot in college baseball. We've touched on it before with Ben McDonald when he was drafted out of LSU. How much pitchers are used. Virginia in the 6th inning was up 5-0. The pitcher was getting touched up a little bit. He couldn't get the third strike on guys. So that means, or get them. They were just making enough contact, right, or whatever to get hits, and they scored a couple of runs. To me, he looked like he lost it right there. I know our coach likes to keep his pitchers in. It cost them a World Series. It cost them some games, I think, in the regular season. But he had both of his pitchers go well into 100 pitches in blowouts. I don't understand why you would do that, other than getting complete games. I didn't really.
Well, in that kid's case, the 2 runs Duke scored was on a home run that, in my opinion, the left fielder should have caught the ball.
Right. He misjudged.
If he would have known where the fence was, he could have jumped up and caught it. He ran into the fence. That's why he couldn't catch it.
When he jumped into the top of the fence. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have caught even so, that was the only. The kid gave up some hits, but they got the timely outs when they needed them. And then when Virginia blew the game open, it was over. But
Virginia
Wake Forest scored 22 runs yesterday against Alabama. You talk about roll tide. They rolled a tie.
Yeah. Well, Virginia's team looks very, very good. They can hit. The problem is sometimes when they face those pitchers, it takes them a little bit to figure them out or wear them down, one or the other. And then once they start hitting, they start hitting. And then they just what my problem is we know they have a deep bullpen, very deep, top-notch relievers. I just felt like, hey, let's save an arm. Let's save these guys' arms for the next step. I mean, there is a tomorrow still.
They're trying to win. The problem with the coaching in college, and this has happened, Ben McDonald's a good example, where a kid gets overused and his arm's messed up.
Right, and that
the kid for Stanford last night. The kid for Stanford last night against Texas pitched a complete game and threw 156 pitches.
See, that's ridiculous.
I mean, what are you trying to do to the? You are not. That coach is more concerned with winning than he is the kid's health, and I find that reprehensible. I'm sorry.
Well, and the thing is yes, you want to win the game, but not at any cost. And I don't know who that is. I don't know if he's, if he's going to be drafted or not. Maybe the kid's like, hey, this is my last year of playing baseball. I'm going to give it everything I got. But the coach, I just feel like the pitchers get really used up in college. I was looking at the top 20. I like looking
Duke
at
used about 25 pitchers yesterday. Every time I looked up, they were changing pitchers.
Well, that's because they don't have the depth that Virginia has. They're going to bring a pitcher out, and we're going to, hey, you give me 5 good pitches, and I'll get the next guy up. We talked about that when I was there when we were watching Clemson. Once you get to a certain place in the bullpen, pitchers wise, you're just calling, hey, did you take math this year? You can pitch it in it. Or at least see a batter. That's kind of the way it is. But I'm really looking forward to the World Series. We talked about it yesterday. There's a lot. College baseball has really improved, really fast. It's just as good as any minor league baseball, and it's exciting to watch. And you're at the time of the year where one swing of the bat changes games. You're on the edge of your seat. I implore you to watch some of the games and see some of the future. There's a lot of draft picks going to be on that field in Omaha, especially in that bracket with Virginia, Wake Forest, and Florida. Then
Florida has had 7 shutouts this year, and their earned run average is 1.90.
Right, and
they can pitch.
Right, and I'm waiting. And Virginia bats, I hope, can come up against that. That third baseman is special. With Treadle, is special. That's 400. And with power, he swings with anger. He looks like Harper swing. He swings with so much anger, with a smile on his face. It's scary. I can't wait for this weekend coming up. I wish I could fly.
I think they start Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? I
think that's what I read. Who knows? But I think it's Wednesday.
I was seeing the 16th, so that would be 4 days from today for some of them. So that might have been the 15th for some of them. And I'm hoping
the 16th is Friday.
Right. But anyway, whenever it starts, I'll look it up and I'll put it in the notes down below. If anybody's interested, it'll be on the ESPNs. I think that's going to be all on ESPN, the regular or the Ocho. I mean, the number 2.
Well, the NBA and the NHL, they should close out.
Right.
They're so one-sided. Those series are so one-sided. They should close out tonight and tomorrow night, and it should be over. So I don't know what else ESPN would show. The girls' softball is over. Oklahoma.
Well, you remember a lot of the tournaments in the afternoon too. I don't think so we won't have to go to the pluses, and people that don't have internet get screwed out of it. But I enjoyed watching the games, and but on to the MLB. So we'll do what we usually do here. We'll pull up the standings and just kind of go through it and give our 2 cents, and you can keep the change. Let's see here. We'll share the screen again. I'm a professional. So starting in the AL East, nothing's really changed. You got the Rays being the Rays, just chugging along. They did lose a pitcher. I think he might be out for the season. Let's see. Orioles doing their thing. I think we talked about it yesterday. They probably need one frontline pitcher, and
at the trade deadline, they might go after the guy for the Cubs.
Stroman. That's been turned around. The Cubs need to figure out which. We'll talk about the Cubs here in a minute, but they need to figure out that them Guardians. They're going to have to figure out. We're within a shot of winning our division, but is it going to be worth it? We can trade away guys, get future guys to be better, to go for a World Series, or do we go for a playoff run and hopefully sneak in? And because anything can happen when you get in the playoffs, and hopefully win a World Series. Yankees.
No, Judge. The Yankees aren't the Yankees without Judge.
Right. And let me tell you, the Blue Jays, I'm tired of hearing how bad they are. They're 37-30. That translates to a 90-win season, and you're not in the playoffs, right? I mean, that's like, I'm sorry, they're better than what people are saying just because they're in fourth place in a powerful division. Don't put that on the Blue Jays. Again, I've said it before. They need to get rid of divisions. Top 6 teams go to the playoffs. Enough said. Because it's not going to be fair. Well, it is what it is. Life's not fair. But the Twins, they won yesterday, so now they're back to 500 and leading the AL Central. And the Blue Jays are 37-30, 4 games above the Twins. And they're going to be at home. And you got the Red Sox that are 33-33, and everybody's calling and Red Sox fans just want to torch Fenway right now.
And they just beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 in New York.
Right. And so, I wish everybody would put some perspective, especially the guys that sit and make money talking about it when they're talking. I mean, that AL East is a monster. This might be in my lifetime the best division I've ever seen when it comes to a division, and it's not going to be fair that only the top 3 teams are going to be in the playoffs, and the Yankees to me are never built for the playoffs. They're not. We'll see. I mean, and like I said, the Twins won yesterday, so they're finally at 500, back to 500, leading the division. The Guardians are 3 under, a game and a half back at 3 under 500. That division, just sad. Rangers, I mean, they're showing they're for real. We've talked about the Orioles. People, I mean, they lost DeGrom. They don't care.
They lost. They played at Tampa, and they won 1 out of the 3 games and gave Tampa all they wanted.
Right, and they're doing it. I mean, guys have stepped up. I mean, that catcher. I should remember his name. Having a great season. They got a great Josh Young, who's riding under the radar for Rookie of the Year in the AL. Nobody's really talking about him. Nate Lau, the first baseman's having a good year. They just having some guys that are having years that we maybe not talked about before, and they're just coasting along. And I mean, the Astros they've been putting it on, here we come, but they're still 4 games or 5 games back, 4 in the win.
And they've got some injuries.
And they got injuries. And let's face it, they're getting a little long in the tooth. Altuve's not the young Altuve anymore. Bregman's not as young as he used to be. But they replace well. They knew what they had in Pena, let Correa go. They knew what they had and had Cal Tucker come up. They're very good at talent, knowing what talent they have, and to replace what goes. And then they turned around and got, they didn't have getting a lot out of Gurriel at first. They already have a catcher that bats under 200, but he's might be the best catcher in baseball. So they went out and got Abreu to play first, or DH, if they want to put Alvarez Jordan Alvarez in the outfield. So they make good moves, and I mean they got a great pitching staff. That pitchers can stay healthy, they'll make a run. Angels to me are a surprise. 36-31, 6.5 games back. But they're 2 games out of the playoff run right now. Even the Astros right now would not be in the playoffs. So at 37-29. That's how good the AL East is. I want to keep bringing it up. But good for the Angels. Everybody wants – now that's a team everybody wanted to throw away. They wanted to make them 4th in this division, and they're playing good ball. They're playing good ball.
They might be in the Stroman sweepstakes too.
Right. If they want to make a run,
picture away.
Right, because a lot of people have Shohei getting traded this year. I can't see that when they're got a shot at making the playoffs and they haven't made the playoffs.
I said all along they weren't going to trade him. No. Right. They're not going to trade one of their 2 marquee players. They're just not. I mean, that's what brings the people into the ballpark.
Yeah, but sooner or later, if you're not going to re-sign him and you're not going to make the playoffs, the people in the ballpark are going to have to know we can't re-sign him at this dollar amount, and we got to get something for him. So they can trade him in the off season if they want to, but I don't think they're going to trade him before, not when they're this close. And they're just going to have to make I think that makes the decision a lot easier because they got the players to make it. And when you look at Rendon staying healthy this year, they got some guys. I wish Hoppy would return back to this form in the beginning of the year to add a little bit more depth in that lineup. But he plays a solid catcher. Good rookie. Mariners, they're the disappointment of the AL West.
Yeah, I picked the Mariners and the Cardinals to go to the World Series. Boy, was I wrong.
A Mariner, you look at their lineup on paper, and you're like, holy cow. And, they're just not doing it. Athletics, they had a pretty good weekend against the Brewers, but 17-50. I mean, congratulations. You're getting – well, they're doing the lottery, I guess, for picks. So you're not definitely getting the number 1 pick, but congratulations, you're in the lottery. We go to NL East. The Braves, I talked to some of my Braves fellows and watched some videos of them. Even in the card world, we like to talk about our teams. They're all in agreement that they got to have Max Fried back to make the playoff run and win the World Series, that pitcher. But, man, they're 40-25. I'm like, wow, if he's that much of a difference. Kudos to the Marlins organization.
13 out of 15. They've won 13 out of 15 games.
I am becoming a Marlins fan. I love my Mets, but, man, they pissing me off this year. The Marlins, and it's not the players, it's the organization that's pissing me off with the Mets. The Marlins, kudos to them. I mean, nobody thought this. Nobody. They thought them and the Nationals be battling down here. Phillies has decided we got too many good players to suck and said we're going to play ball now.
This is what they did last year.
Yeah,
last year they fired Girardi. They put in the new manager, and they won something like 9 games in a row before they lost. This year, and it was right at the end of May, early June. This year they get to June 2nd. Then they win 6 games in a row, lose 1, and then won again yesterday. They're starting to move again.
Right. And
just like they did last year.
And the key is when Trey Turner starts hitting, they start winning.
Exactly.
Trey Turner gets on base, they start winning. And I hate to put it on one guy, but he's the
catalyst.
That butter, man. He did it for the Nationals, he did it for the Dodgers, and now that's what the Phillies are paying him all that money for. He's a top-notch shortstop, I think he put a lot of pressure on himself when he got to Philadelphia. It's not laid back LA. It's not laid back Washington. You know, the journalists are in your face. The fans are in your face. They expect to win, and they're paying you all that money. I think playing in Philly is a little different for him, and he's finding that out. And he should have known that being in the Nationals organization, how it is to play in Philly. My Mets, I said already, I touched on it. A lot of fans are grumbling for Buck Showalter's head. Don't get it. Showalter's a Hall of Fame coach, to my mind, has never won a World Series, but he's, bridesmaid, never the bride. But only one team could win. Me and you've always said that, so it's tough to win a championship. The Mets, they just don't score runs. They proved it in this Pirates series. We talked about it. They won one game they lost one game when they scored 4 runs, and all 4 were off of solo home runs. That just you gotta get some hitting. I said it before.
Alonso's out.
Alonso's out for 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah,
but I said before the season they needed one more stick in the middle of that lineup, and at least one more. Having Vogelbach as your DH is not the answer. And when they said they were just going to fill the DH spot with somebody in their organization, I was like, well, you tried that last year. You tried to go outside the organization. It didn't work. I didn't understand that move. I know they don't have bottomless pockets. You can't, but they got pieces they can move. I think
they got a kid down in minor leagues they ought to bring up too.
Right, and I think McNeil's one of those pieces. I just think they're scared to play with 4 rookies. Why? You're 31 and 35. Play with 4 rookies. Who cares? Put Syracuse across your chest. I don't care what you do, but at least try. You got to try something. You got to stir it up a little bit. And you better watch out because the Nationals are 26 and 38. They're only 5 games behind them. So, Pirates back in first place by just percentage points. 1 game, but they're both 34-30 Brewers, and them are 34-34 in the win column.
This shows you how weak both central divisions are.
Right.
These 2 divisions, I think the Pirates have a winning record and the Brewers have a winning record, but
right.
It's just 34-32 or something like that.
Yeah, but 34.
This is how bad the central divisions are.
Right.
The Brewers got
34-30 are not. That's respectable. 34-30 is not bad. That's not.
Right, but the Brewers got swept at home by the Oakland A's. At home. That's how bad these central divisions are. Somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to win the division. Somebody's got to win it. Right. Somebody's going to wind up on top.
Right.
They may have a losing record or barely above 500, but somebody's going to finish out on top. And right. I'm kind of hoping the Pirates do because they've been down for so long.
Right, me too. There's part of me that really likes to see that. It would be fun to watch a playoffs with the Battle of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a series between Pennsylvania, Phillies and Pirates. That would be fun. Be different too. The Reds are in third.
The Reds have 2 of the most exciting players in baseball, right? They brought up a kid named De La Cruz and another one named Benson. Those 2 those are big kids. And
you got Abbott, the pitcher, who had a hell of an opening day, his first pitcher performance from UVA. This is a team to watch if you want to see exciting baseball. Might not be the best baseball out there, but I can't watch them. I'm in Winston-Salem. They black me out. They're part of my blackout package. I try to watch them because I want to see the De La Cruz. I hope there's some game of the weeks or something, but I doubt it because they're just.
Do they even they black out the away games too?
Yeah, because Cincinnati.
That makes no. Why do you black out an away game?
because they want you to watch them on their television channel. It's not about going to the games.
Oh, okay.
Blackouts have nothing to do about going to the games.
But if you're in Winston-Salem, how do you get their local channel?
70s and 80s football thing. The blackout is about watching it on their channels. I have no idea. That's why I told you yesterday I'm going to write a letter to the FCC, and because to me this is ridiculous. I think when I looked on my, if I don't have cable, I cut the cable. I stream everything, but even on my local streaming, which they use local channels, I don't have a baseball team. There's no baseball team. I have a hockey team and I have a football team. I don't have a baseball team. The Braves, everybody's like, well, you should have the Braves. They're 8 hours away from me. They're 8 hours. It's not like they're across the street. I'm used to being, when we were living in Virginia, I had two teams that within 4 hours or 3 hours, I could be in any state, either one of their stadiums. One was, we had it down to less than 2 hours. I could be in Washington. So we used to go quite a bit of the Washington games. But we have both of those teams on our package, on our local package. It's something they need to address. A lot of people are bitching about it. There's ways around it, but I don't want to do that. I want it. It shouldn't have to be done that way. Luckily, I get Mets games. I get Phillies. I get Pittsburgh, but I don't get Cincinnati. And I know Cincinnati's right there on the West Virginia border, but I don't border to West Virginia. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we'll go further down. Diamondbacks, good for them. I'm rooting hard for them. A couple of Virginia players on that team. Corbin is eligible for the Rookie of the Year. I found that out last night. Right now, that's going to be a fun. I think him and Alvarez will be battling out for Rookie of the Year in the National League. That kid causes a ruckus when he's on the base pads. He does have a little pop.
He hit a home run in the opposite field. Yes, Saturday night he hit an opposite field home run, 385 feet.
Good for him, and he plays a hell of a defense.
Yeah, he's got all the tools.
Yeah, little
Martinez was on MLB last night. I was watching it before I went to bed, and he said he's one of the best young players he's seen in his lifetime.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And the manager, he said the manager for the Cincinnati Reds farm team has been in the game for 34 years. That Dela Cruz kid for Cincinnati, he said he is the best player that he has ever managed. And he's managed 5 people who are in the Hall of Fame.
Right. And they're saying that with him, we'll go back to him real quick because he's worth going back to, that he's the best raw talent that's come out in decades. But he still needs to be coached up a little bit because he's raw. He's still raw. And, but I mean, he's just got talent above. If he's willing to listen to the ones that become before him, he's probably the guy. Everybody that wants somebody to break Barry Bonds' record and all that. This might be. He's young enough. He's got the talent. He's got.
Well, they've got some leadership on that. Cincinnati has some leadership. Joey Votto and a few other people on that team that have been around for a while. And if the kids will pay attention to them, listen to their manager and their coaches, there's no telling how good these kids can be.
Right, and I mean,
they're fun to watch.
He's 5 tools. He's for as tall as he is, he flies around the bases. He's a gazelle. Usually, a tall guy, they have problems getting when they get close to the base, chopping the feet and all that stuff. But he just doesn't. He just looks graceful out there in the field, and he's got a cannon, plus arm. Just is star in the making. Good. And I think baseball kind of needs that right now. It's been a little bland this year. We have so much with pitch clocks and stuff.
Everybody's getting more used to the rules than they are watching some of the games.
Right. And let's finish this up. We got the Dodgers who, they had to get rid. Let's be real. They got rid of some of their older talent. Their pitching staff is not the same, but they're still when we say that, they're still the Dodgers. They're still a top tier team. The Diamondbacks, to me, really surprised. And playing in Arizona, they could do it under the radar a little bit. And it's just a shame that most of the country doesn't get to see that talented team. It's I call it the Paul Goldschmidt syndrome, the best first baseman maybe ever, and you don't know it because he played in Arizona. Now he's in the Cardinals, so a lot more people know it, but still, it's just Arizona is just for some reason people don't watch.
Yeah, they're a pleasant surprise.
Right. The Giants, another team that's 33-32. That's a team when the organization, if they're hanging around, watch for them in the second half of the season. They'll make some moves. They have money. They have money in the coffers. They haven't spent a lot of money on a player. They've tried. It falls short. They have a luxury of having 3 catchers that are major leaguers. So they have a guy they could trade. They have some depth in their organization to make some trades. So maybe keep an eye on them to be in the second half. If you're a betting man, that might be a couple of dollars for the second half of the season. Padres should just fold up.
They're playing better.
Yeah,
well, better. I'm not gonna throw them completely under the bus yet, because there's too much time left for them to turn it around like the Phillies did last year. And and Machado's back. They got way too much talent on that team. I just can't. I keep telling myself they can't keep playing like this
and Machado, you might not like how he is, but he knows how to talk to Tatis. I tell you that. He gets in Tatis's ear. But after he left LA and some of the dumb stuff he did with Baltimore and LA Dodgers, and I think the maturity factor is there, and I think he wants to be the guy that leads the Padres to a World Series. And you got Bogarts there that's been to World Series and stuff. They got talent and they got leadership, but it's just one of those things. Do they play well together? Do they play well in the sandbox together? Do they get along? Some teams don't have to get along to win, but some teams do, and we'll see. Because I just think Tatis rubs people the wrong way, especially after what he's done and some things he said. And I was a Tatis fan, but I've kind of fallen away from him a little bit. Then you got the Rockies at 27-40. They're not the A's. Let's just say that. They need a lot of improvement. I would hate to be the leadership with that team. So that's a quick run through of the league, where they're standing now. You talked yesterday about the manager for the Phillies getting thrown out with Aaron Nola. I talked to my Philly friends, and you were 100% correct, and I thought you were. Aaron Nola has been known to throw as many as 30 balls out in a game. From the way it looks, he might have been pre-warned before the game started to not do that. But my issue still stands. You can't just have a rule where we got a pitch clock and then everything else is under umpire discretion.
Yeah, you can't, if there's no rules limiting the amount of balls you can throw out of the game, but he's known for that even before the pitch clock. He used to get on the other managers used to get mad about it all the time. What's wrong with the ball? Right. It's round.
Right. Yeah. So it was listening to them, and and they were disagreeing with each other a little bit. But but see, there you have it. I asked 2 Philadelphia guys about it. One said, yeah, he does it. And the other one is like me. Well, there's not a rule. So, what that's why you have to have rules. If you're going to make a rule with the pitch clock, you better have everything in there that you could possibly have. Standing ovations, guy taking too long running around the bases, anything. You have to have, when does the next clock start? When the guy crosses the plate or after he hit the home run? Does the next batter start? It's just, to me, too many holes. And then if a guy gets a standing ovation, he hit 2 home runs and gets a curtain call, does it matter? Is he allowed to step out of the box to let the guy get the curtain call? That, things like that, which to me is a plus for the game, curtain calls and things sort of like that. You're going to take that away because you want the game to go faster by a few seconds. That's the type of stuff. I like the pace of play. I didn't think it was going to make a difference, but it has, and it's still making a difference. But I don't like the games that people are playing around it. So, any more thoughts on that, Dad? About the pitch clock?
Not really. I'm just for an old guy, the game's going faster I can stay awake the whole game. But
right.
that and it's sometimes games would get, please get back in the box. You
right.
Stop adjusting your gloves. You haven't swung yet. I mean,
right.
So when I played, we didn't wear gloves. We just swung a bat. Of course, when I first started, we played backyard baseball. Didn't even have hats, but that's another story. That's
right.
I just sometimes the game would drag, and I really like the pace of play. I'm not real wild about the bases. I saw a runner trip over a base, going around second base. When he went to step on the bag, he caught his toe under the corner and fell. And if it had been a regular bag, he wouldn't have done that. I just, those bigger bags, it's like anything else, you have to get used to them.
Right.
And that's not always a good thing. And,
well, I don't know.
To me, those bigger bags and the limited number of 2 pitches you can throw over to first, that skews the stolen base stuff. And we've talked about that before. It changes it a little bit. That rule has changed the stolen base. It makes it easier to get the stolen base. Well, now, the shift for left-handed batters, hitting a ground ball through just a ground ball through the infield. The change this year is less in the batting averages, is less than 0.01%. That's how many. They're not hitting that many more ground balls for base hits. A lot of the ground balls going through the right side of the infield are hit to the opposite field.
Well, we touched on this yesterday when we were talking. I feel like, somebody will be watching a game and somebody hits the ground ball through the shift and everybody goes, oh, well, see, the shift is taking away the shift is working. But I've been watching games the last few years when the shift happened and somebody hit a ball where the guy normally played for the last 100 years. And the pitcher's like, well, where's my guy at?
Yeah.
So to me, it's all in the wash, comes out even. And they're still shifting. I mean, my gosh, you watch a game, the shortstop is a half a step on the side of the bag. And when the ball is thrown, he's either behind the bag or on the other side. The third baseman's playing well over. So the only difference is the second baseman's not playing shallow outfield.
Right.
So
if there's a game situated late in the game, there's no rule that says you can't take your left fielder and put him in short right field.
Right. Yep.
And make him, that'd be the shift. Then you'd be back at the shift again.
Right. And teams have done that in preseason just to get used to doing that if they needed to. So when a Joey Gallo comes up or something like that, pure, can't do anything else but strike out, or Schwarber.
But here again, I like the idea of not having the shift. It looks more like real baseball to me.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why players have played that in these certain positions for 140 years. It's just if the shift was the way it was supposed to be played, that's how the teams would have lined up 70 years ago.
Rod Carew said they didn't play the shift because people could hit the ball the other way.
Right.
And that's why they didn't shift. He said, people think that they just thought of the shift. No, that's been going. We did it about the Washington Senators. No, the St. Louis Cardinals, one of our talk.
Right.
And that the Comiskey, when he got involved with the Cardinals, he installed a shift. He got the first baseman on. The first baseman had to stand on the bag. He got him off the bag. He got the pitcher to cover the bag, and he installed a shift.
Right.
The people hit the ball the other way, so he got out of the shift. Right. So it's not like that was 100 and some years ago. I mean, it's not
the
like
way they swing. They keep their hands inside the ball so much. It's their swings now are built for pure pulls for power.
Launch angle.
Yeah, well, and the launch angle for that type, what I'm talking about, is not all about that. It's just if you watch hitting instructions now, when I was growing up, it was about, man, I was a big guy. You want to get those arms extended out and drive the ball. Now it's about keeping the hands in, pulling that the front arm through, and keeping your hands inside. That's why they stand so close to the plate. They could get those inside pitches even there and just drive them down the line. They don't hook the ball anymore. If you watch games, the balls go straighter because of that. The plane of the bat is not hooking the ball. And that tends to lead to more pulls. I watched a guy on YouTube on hitting instructions why that's the case. But when they hit it to the opposite field is when they get fooled on a pitch and hit it late. Because the bat's later in the swing pattern of the ball crossing the plate. But we digress. We're going a long ways here. So I know we talked about Virginia, so we're going to be a little bit longer today than usual. We're going to talk about the Angels, a team which has one of those teams have superstars and guys. It's really no in between to me. And we're going to let my dad talk about the Angels and their not so long of history, but their history. So take it away, Dad.
Well, they were started out as the Los Angeles Angels. They were named after the Pacific Coast League team that had played in L.A. for years and years and years. It was called the Angels because Los Angeles means City of Angels. So it's they started out as the LA Angels in 1961 when I was 15 years old. They were an expansion team. The other expansion team was the Washington Senators because they had moved to Minnesota. So they were the Washington Senators, and they were also they were the LA Angels. Gene Autry, the singing cowboy, there was a movie star back in the 40s, 30s, and 40s and early 50s. He was their owner, and he owned them for 38 years. My biggest recollection of Gene Autry when I was a kid was in 1947, he recorded Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And I remember when I was a little kid, before we ever had TV, listening to Christmas music on the radio and hearing Gene Autry sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's doesn't mean anything, but it's a point of reference.
Yeah,
now
that's part of
it. He owned the team for 38 years, and their saying was, "Let's win one for the Cowboys," for the Cowboy, which they never did. Now, he had it for 38 years. They made the playoffs 3 times in that 38 years. They started out playing with the Dodgers. They shared the stadium in Chavez Ravine. They shared the stadium for a while. Then they moved to Anaheim Stadium in 1966. And then the team played there until 1997 when Disney took over. Disney took over in 1997. Now, back in 1965, I digress. They were taken. The California Angels they changed the name from the LA Angels, Los Angeles Angels, to the California Angels. Then they moved the team to Anaheim, and they became the Anaheim Angels. Wow. Then they became the LA Angels of Anaheim over the last 25, 30. The name has changed quite a bit. Now they're back to just being the Angels. That's what everybody calls them anyway. Now, in 2002, they won their first World Series. They beat the Giants.
I think officially they're still Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I think they're still officially.
That's the last name they were given.
Right.
And so in 2002, they won the World Series from the New York Giants. And Gene Autry passed away 4 years before that, and they retired the number 26 for him. Why number 20? I don't know. Now, in 2000, and a lot of people remember this, they came up with the Rally Monkey. And one thing about the Angels, they haven't had a lot of winning seasons, and they've won one World Series. They were top 7 in attendance from 2003 to 2019. They had over 3 million customers each of those years. They had people like in their Hall of Fame are Bobby Grinch, Jim Fregosi, Don Baylor, Rod Carew, Nolan Ryan, Brian Downing, Chuck Finley, Bobby Knopp, Dean Chance, Tom Salmon, Mike Witt, Garrett Anderson, Vladimir Guerrero, and their longtime manager, Mike Scioscia. They've had talent.
Yep.
And they did win a World Series. Now, one thing, I remember this, 2019, they had a big scandal. The city council in Anaheim voted to sell the stadium and the land around it to land developers. The land developers were led by owner Art Moreno, and the price was $325 million. However, the FBI looked into it because they didn't like the way it smelled, and they found out that there was $1 million kickback to the mayor's re-election campaign. The mayor had to resign, and the deal fell through, and Spanos got rid of the team. So now the Angels are what they are, and they've got 2 of the best players in baseball. And that's why, you and I watched them when I was down there with you when you were having your shoulder problems. When you had the surgery on your shoulder, we sat there that one night when Ohtani pitched and tried to hit for the cycle and came within about 1.5 feet of hitting for the cycle. And, of course, they've got the guy who's been the best player in baseball for years. So they just need a little more pitching and maybe a little more in their bullpen, and they might make a run for the playoffs. But the problem in the American League is the American League East. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. You're going to have 3 teams coming out of the American League East, and that's going to keep a lot of good teams. And then you're going to have one clown team out of the clown car in the Central, and then that's going to keep.
You're going to have to win 95 games to get a playoff spot.
Oh yeah, they're going to keep good teams from getting to the playoff. That's why I agree with you, son. Go back to the way it used to be. Have 2 leagues: the American League and the National League. Take the top 6 teams out of each league by record, because everybody plays everybody. Nobody's going to have a favorable record. Everybody plays everybody. So do that. Take the top 6 teams out of each league. The first 2 teams can have a bye, and the other 4 can play, and then you go from there.
And they're going to say, "Oh, well, you're going to take away from the, how close they are, with the season." Right. And you still have look how close. If the bottom 3 teams are fighting for the spots with the other, you're going to have 9-10 teams fighting to get into the playoffs. I don't think you're going to take away from the excitement of getting into the playoffs. I really don't. But anyway, we'll go back to the Angels.
Let me just add this. I can understand. Okay. Somebody living in Minneapolis is going to say, "Hey, Pops, why the Twins win their division? They'll be penalized. The fans want to come out and watch them win their division. The fans in Cleveland are going to watch them fight for the pennant." Okay. So you're telling me that the fans in Minnesota and in Cleveland are more important than the fans in Toronto and Anaheim.
Right.
because those teams would be, their fans are coming out to watch them try to get into the playoffs too. And so if Minnesota is automatically in, somebody's got to be eliminated.
And let me tell you, the verbiage would be a lot different on these teams that are in fourth place, like the Toronto Blue Jays. They wouldn't be talking about them being so bad. I am hearing stuff that equals Blue Jays to the A's. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They're 37-30. How are you even? They're just in a powerhouse of a division.
And they don't have a lot of pitching.
Right. But if you did what we were talking about, you wouldn't even hear that because they would be the fourth place team in the AL playing for a pennant, which is nobody cares about a division. The pennant is what it's about, and the World Series is what it's all about. And that's it. Nobody cares about a division. You don't see people walking around wearing T-shirts saying we won the Central. It doesn't matter. And I digress. We're going to get back to the Angels here. I can go on because more and more it just gets me fired up. Yeah, I see where Autry's number 26. Retired numbers, Carew 29, Ryan 30. He did have a great career with the Angels. But I think he's in the Hall of Fame as an Astro, I think. I can't remember.
Well, he played for the Mets. He started out with the Mets. Then he's played for the Angels. He's played for the Astros. He played for the Rangers.
That's it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have no idea what he went. I think he did go in as an Astro. I'm not sure.
Right.
Maybe somebody out there that watches this can let us know.
Right. And, I mean, Carew had a great career with the Angels. He started with the Twins. He had a great career at both places. Carew has always been Carew. He's that guy. He doesn't get talked about a lot. He's kind of like Tony. I always, when I bring up good hitters, my first name comes to mind is Tony Gwynn. But Rod Carew is kind of in that same mold.
Clemente.
And Rod Carew, when he played, it looked like he was playing Pepper. Where the pitch, he just put the ball. You can see it was like he was catching the ball with the bat and putting it exactly in the field where he wanted to. And he's one of the greatest drag bunters of all times. If you were going to play the shift on him in this day, good luck. So, and a lot of people don't realize that about him. I mean, Vlad Daddy played. Before there was a junior, there was a senior. Vladimir Guerrero, Hall of Famer. He doesn't even get talked about like his son does right now. But Vlad Daddy, I was living in Orange County, where Anaheim is, during the Rally Monkey era. Mike Scioscia, it was sickening. Just to let you know, I hate the Rally Monkey. It drove me nuts. And I think I don't take anything away. I've talked about it before. The number one team in that area of California is USC. Only if the other teams are winning do they care about the other teams. So it's them, and then maybe the Lakers after them, and that's it.
And the Dodgers. The Dodgers are big.
Yeah.
The Rams are when they're winning. The Rams are big because they won a Super Bowl.
And again, well, even that's why football doesn't last there, because USC, more people would rather go to USC games than the other, just because it's USC. When I was living out there, it was nuts, crazy for USC. And it could change, but yeah. They even got them broken up in California Angels and Anaheim Angels under the Hall of Fame. That's kind of funny. Burt Blyleven, Whitey Herzog, Frank Robinson, Don Sutton, Dick Williams, Dave Winfield, which he's another one that's played for Padres, Angels, Yankees. I think he's in the Hall as a Yankee. Reggie Jackson had a pretty good career there. He must kill the queen, if anybody remembers that quote from what was it called? I can't remember the name of the movie, but I saw him put that on a movie poster. If anybody looks at my little thumbtag on YouTube, it's me sitting with Reggie Jackson while he's doing signings. Anyway, that right now you look at the roster. Like I said, their pitching staff is actually doing pretty good. I mean, Griffin Cannon, Reed Detmers, and they got some guys. They picked up Aaron Loup from the Mets. Aaron Loup for the Mets was a lefty that just killed lefties. I mean, that was his job, and he did it well. Then you got Shohei. They have to put a special line for Shohei on their roster as a two-way player. I love it. Matt Theus, who played at UVA, catcher, solid catcher. Anthony Rendon staying healthy this year. I think he's missed a couple of games, but for overall staying healthy, I think that's a huge, huge plus for them. I just do. Their outfield, I think they probably wish they had Brandon Marsh back in the outfield, but when you got Mike Trout in center field, Marsh is a natural center fielder. Going to Phillies was the best for him. They could probably add another bat in the outfield. But other than that, in the field, I think they're all right. But hopefully they make some noise, make a run at the playoffs. Trout deserves it. Angels fans deserve it. Shohei, we want to see his talent on the big stage. I want to see Shohei in the playoffs. This man is unbelievable. I think he's going to go down as maybe the best baseball player ever. He did in Japan. Now he's doing it in the U.S. The problem is he's out in California. It's going to be hard for him to do that. So maybe his next step is East Coast or the Midwest, and where his talents can be seen by everyone. I mean, we watched him. He's amazing. He just is.
He's a different breed of cat.
Yeah. And I still think as he gets a little older, he's going to have to choose. I think he's going to have to probably give up pitching. But maybe he can come out of the bullpen. They're changing the rules in baseball for him. You know, when they made the DH for everyone, they had to change the rules so when he was in the game, he can go to DH after he was pitching. So they changed rules for Shohei Ohtani to stay because people pay to come see him play. Yeah. They don't come to see the other guy play. And baseball knows that. You want to see the best guys on the field, and why take away from that?
So, he goes. Right? Washington is actually drawing halfway decent. But if the Angels come to town with him and Trout, that place will be sold out for 3 games just to see that.
Oh yeah, everywhere. I mean,
you and I did that when Chipper Jones came through there on the last year. And when his last game he played in Washington, you and I were there that night. That place was packed.
Right. But the Braves still, because of the Superstation, there's enough fans like us that remember TBS. And the Braves have a following.
They're America's team.
Right. They have a following everywhere. I used to hate going to them. See, when they did the interleague ball, they played Baltimore. And me and some of my friends went up there, and we were Baltimore fans. But there was more Braves fans, and that's when Baltimore was bad. But, it's irritating, to say the least. But anyway, I hope they make it. You're going to have a long road to hoe to get to the playoffs because they're in the American League. Again, I feel like to make a wild card, you're going to have 95 wins. And because I think an American League West team is going to have 97, 98, 99 wins. So they're going to have to play some ball in the second half of the year moving forward. And the thing is they're playing great. What I say, they're 37-30 or whatever right now. So I think they're playing really good, but they got to play better. You got to be better. So, anything to add for the Angels, Dad?
No.
Or anything else before we take off? Yeah, hashtag watch the games. Again, watch some college baseball. You'll really like it, even if it's just highlights. Those kids play for the love and not for the money. They play for the name on a jersey and then the guys they play around. It's exciting to watch. So until next time, like, share, hit that thumbs up, that button if you don't mind. Please tell me what you think down below. Any ideas, thoughts about the league. Until next time, we'll see you.